Okay.
Well, that's cool. We can be a bit. Oh,
Here we are. We're live. We're live.
Woo!
Chats with mates. Chats with mates.
Chats
Isn't
with
life great?
chats
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody's out there because this is the first time I've done this Chats with Mates on YouTube live. I believe you can put comments up and stuff like that. We'll see. I don't even know how I would know. Maybe I'll go to YouTube on my phone.
Whoa.
And see myself in real time.
Wow.
I think I can do that.
Media platforms.
Live Chats with Mates featuring Elana Stone. Yeah. Wow. There it is. I think I can do
that. That is distracting because I can hear a delay.
Featuring Elana Stone. Yeah. There's quite Here we are, guys.
It. This is. I feel like I'm disappearing up the K-hole.
Okay, good.
Or down it.
We know that works, so we can leave that now. So, as I said, this is the first time I've tried this Chats with Mates, just streaming straight to YouTube with split screen. Ladies and gentlemen of Australia, please welcome the amazing Elana Stone to Chats with Mates. Chats with Mates. Chats with Mates. Oh, look, there's a comment.
Chats with Mates.
Can you see comments, or can only I see the comments?
I can't see any comments. Maybe
I got a woohoo! Hey, you folks.
There's somebody out there.
All right, it's all happening. All right, so let's start this properly. So, as a bit of background, this is boring technical stuff, but maybe some emerging creatives and people that want to do this kind of stuff will find this interesting. But I initially did this on Instagram Live. Elana, you're an emerging musician.
I've been emerging for a good 20 years.
A good 20 years.
A long labour.
It was a long labour. A labour of love, some might say.
And some might say a labour of excruciating pain.
Yes. I wouldn't say that, no. Anyway, so I did it on Instagram Live. Instagram Live is great, but you do it and then it disappears. You can only store it for 24 hours. Then I tried to do it on a different program called Lula TV, but you couldn't do split screen. I'd spent all day setting it up, and I was trying to invite Bob Evans into the session. You couldn't do it. So at the last minute, I had to abort and just use my phone again. So this time, I've got this new program called what's it called? StreamYard. And we're trying that. So it seems so far so good. Where I can see the comments, I can hear you. We're here.
I think, you should maybe do every week on a different platform and just compare. I think that's a great marketing idea.
I think we've run out of platforms. Although I did have an idea this week. I was like, none of these are ideal. Why don't I develop my own third-party program purely for streaming, purely for artists to stream? So if there's any web developers out there, get in contact with me. DM me. Give me a DM. And
Slide into my DMs.
Slide into my DMs.
That's such a Josh Pyke headspace. And I love that because you're sort of like, I want to do this thing. There's no current platform for me to do this, or at least I can't find one. So I'm going to start my own ukulele business or whatever it is. Sorry to bring that up. Maybe that's not kosher. I just like how you're like, this is frustrating. So I'm just going to invent it myself.
Exactly.
I think that.
Cheers. What are you drinking? You drinking anything?
No, I don't have any. Well, I have some soda water, which I could pretend is alcohol.
Gin and tonic.
Everyone feel more comfortable. I have been drinking a lot and coffee up until about 3 p.m. and then alcohol. The only way I can tell the difference between day and night is what beverage I'm currently drinking.
Hey, so let's talk about this. Obviously, well, let's start with. This is Chats with Mates. We are legit mates. And in fact, most people probably wouldn't know this, but we've actually known each other since we were children. We went to the same primary school together. And you are only a few years younger than me, 3 or 4 or something.
Counting.
Not counting, no. So we went to primary school together. We grew up in Balmain together. We know a lot of the same people. I know your brother very well. I don't know your sister as well. In fact, I don't know her at all.
You had a brief chat with her. In fact, your sister brought her daughter into the world. or
Is
was
that
there.
true though? No, she was my sister was the
Yeah.
like the what's it called? The like
The
observing
standby
midwife or something.
midwife, yeah, supervising at the birth of my niece.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of connections, a
Well,
lot of
let's talk
deep.
about these connections because I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time. And your brother Jake Stone, lead singer of Blue Juice and general creative whiz kid and Beautiful Nightmare, has spoken about this in the past because Jake and I are also good mates and we went to high school together. Jake was also in my wife's year in high school.
Yeah.
It's really fucking. Oh, and Jake was in my younger sister's year in primary school. So
And
we actually
describes your wife as being like the hot girl in that year. And a few people have said that, which I think should make you quite happy.
it makes me. It's nothing I wouldn't have expected. But what I wanted to say was Balmain is a really weird place, right? So if you think about the people that have come out of Balmain in the creative industries, it's like Kevin, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You could pretty much do the 6 degrees of Balmain primary school. And I would say that it all started with a young man called Alex Lloyd.
Oh, you think he was the source of fame?
Well, he kind of started it, like because he was Alex Lloyd.
You're right.
Hey?
You're right. No, you're right. I agree.
Because he was in a band called the Beefs, right? And when I was like 10 and 11, the Beefs were playing all the pubs around Balmain, and they would play like the Balmain church markets on the weekends and busk and stuff like that. We went to primary school with Alex Lloyd. It was before your time, but when I was in kindy, he was in year 5 or 6, and he was like he was a bit of a bad boy actually, and he was a known dude.
Hang on, 5 or 6, he was a known dude as a bad boy, like a sort of Luke Perry 90210, like bad boy, that kind of thing.
Less Luke Perry, more I would say like Bart Simpson kind of bad boy.
Not as glamorous,
mischievous, as far as I remember. Anyway, he was like out there playing gigs really early on, and I remember hearing. So it was the Beefs, and then it was a band. I can't remember the name of the band that he was in before he went solo, but I remember hearing them on Triple J, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is incredible! This dude from Balmain has got this song." And then he went solo, and that first album, I fucking love that first album.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Wow, this guy has actually gotten somewhere out of Balmain." And then the other funny thing was in his first film clip, it featured a young Rose Byrne, who was also another Balmain primary school kid.
Oh, I didn't know that he featured Rose Byrne in a video clip.
Yes, in the film clip for Black the Sun. And I remember going, wow, Rose is like doing this cool stuff as well. So she was in my sister's year as well. And then her older brother, George, is a good mate of mine. He was in the year above me, who's an amazing photographer. If you guys should check it out, George Byrne on Instagram, incredible photography. And then there's Josh Zepps, who's the star of ABC radio and television, is one of my oldest mates, was in my year from the time we were in kindy. The Darcy Byrne, the mayor of bloody the Inner West.
He's like the coolest because he's actually like in terms of politics, which I generally don't like as a personality type, I'm not drawn to politicians, but he was actually the captain of, so Darcy was in my year and he was in my kind of group of friends. And we called him Dumbo because he had big ears, and then I think he got him pinned back and all that stuff. But he just I really love his politics. He's really pro live music, and he's anti-parking tickets and stuff.
He's classic old school. He is old school Balmain. He's like a Labor, like union kind of old school guy. But he was also a badass as well in school. Like he was not you wouldn't have necessarily expected him to be the mayor of the Inner West. He was a pretty naughty guy. But anyway, so there was a lot of people came out of Balmain, and you and I
feel like my sister deserves a mention here as well because
of course
she's a well-known actress. I don't know if we already said that, but then Rose has had this humongous career, which
it's sort of like a slow burn, amazing, just slowly. She's kind of like the Paul Kelly of acting. She just slowly gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The way as opposed to having a big peak and then disappearing.
Yeah, I just see her in movies. You sort of oh, she's in a movie with just her and Susan Sarandon or Sarandon or whatever you're supposed to say. And you're like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then you kind of like pinch yourself and go, that is mental. That is
I know, that is mental.
amazing.
I remember, I mean, you know, she was in Two Hands with Heath Ledger back in the day. But there's, yeah, so many. I actually I wrote a list. What was the other ones that I wrote down? It was because suddenly it doesn't seem like that many, although that is quite a lot. Oh, even things like, you know, I've got bloody Throzzo.
Throzzo!
What are you talking about?
We weren't dropping her name like a bomb.
Outrageous. Holly Throsby. So again, Balmain Primary School, known her since she was a little kid with a different last name. And we all grew up in the same area, like going to the same parties and stuff over the years. So anyway, it's lovely to still know you. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to kick you out of the group. We've had an intervention. Me and the rest of Balmain got together, and this is actually what Chats with Mates is about tonight. Is
just one by one kicking people out of the cool group.
Yeah, Balmain.
It's so Balmain. It's so Balmain. Actually, I was really impressed because I went to your 40th, and which I'd like to talk about a little bit because it was one of my favorite nights, both conceptually and practically. It was called Pyke Fest.
No, it was called the Festival of Pyke.
Oh, really? I've been telling people it's called Pyke Fest, but I don't think that's by the by. And you had to prepare, I think, 2 to 3 minutes of stand-up comedy, and I think it was competitive stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
so not any old thing. You had to actually beat people at being funny. And then you had to did you have to verse you at ping pong, or was it just like verse anybody? I feel like it was you, like you were taking everyone.
I was taking on everybody, but I was particularly focused on beating you at ping pong because you were talking a big game. And you remember you arrived a little bit late, and you're like, because we had a ping pong table set up, we had a cocktail waiters and everything. I had the studio where I'm sitting here. I had the studio set up to have jams, and then we had a stand-up comedy routine on the back deck.
Party. It was so good. It was kind of like the lolly table and the pass the parcel and the pin the talent donkey over there, but for adults. And it was so. I thought you had that same intensity with everyone when it came to beating them at ping pong. I'm actually quite shocked.
No, I do. I'm surprisingly, I'm not a very like sporty dude or anything, but I am surprisingly competitive. Same with video games and just life in general. But I hope I try and do it with a certain je ne sais quoi,
I like telling people that you are surprisingly alpha because your songs are so sweet and so like about love and the fragility of life, and then you'll just like go into a situation where there's competition and you will do whatever it takes to psych out the opposition.
Yeah,
and sometimes it can get quite personal. And I'm like, I can't believe this is the beautiful sort of finger picking, gentle Josh Pyke just like taking me down, just at whatever cost.
It is fair to say that I beat you again and again and again on the ping pong.
Unceremoniously, you slaughtered me, but I think it was mostly psychological. I think you actually just really cut to the core of me.
What do you remember what I said? Anything in particular?
You were very personal. I can't remember what it was. Why? Do you remember something?
No, I can't remember anything about that night. All I remember is I do know that I just ended up asleep on the back lawn, and it was raining, and my beautiful wife came and draped a blanket over me, and she was like, go inside. And I was like, no, it feels so good. The rain feels so good. It was a great night. Great night.
Yeah. I think you were asleep face down on the lawn in the rain.
I was asleep, yeah. It was just, I was tired. Anyway, so moving on. So we've known each other for a long time, but I wanted to talk about your musical adventures because I've also been following them since day dot when you used to be a jazz performer, right? You started out jazzing it up early on. And I used to go see you guys play. It was like wasn't it the Elana Stone trio or something, or
quartet, band,
But
just
what was that venue in Surrey Hills?
You came to the Excelsior.
Excelsior, yes. Yeah,
Excelsior Hotel. I think you and Holly turned up on the same night, which was quite confronting for me because I remember that.
Just because you sort of admired us both so much and were a bit intimidated, or what do you mean?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you were also quite well represented on the airwaves at that time, and
I think this was years ago. Wasn't this like
I feel like
before?
you were a bit of a Triple J hunk at that time,
Mm.
and I was doing my jazz thing, and it was I knew you were in the room. I knew both of you were in the room, and I found it really hard to talk to people after gigs, and I think sometimes I come across as rude because my brother's quite good at just chatting with people, but I'm not. Like I find it a bit overwhelming occasionally. I'll just blather on a bit more. We were actually at the same. My brother and I were at a gig of Rufus Wainwright's that was at the Basement. And at the time, he was my absolute idol. Like I was pretty much listening to 90% Rufus. And in the audience was David Byrne. David Byrne was in the audience watching Rufus at the Basement in Sydney. And Rufus did the whole gig solo on the guitar. And he's rubbish. He's
a piano player.
Yeah, he's a beautiful piano player. He's rubbish at the guitar. And I think he was just thinking, oh, Sydney, who gives a shit? Like, out of the tour, I'll just try out my guitar on them, which, is fine. Everyone loved it. And then at the end, it was just me, my brother, Rufus Wainwright, David Byrne, all just standing around at the Basement. And I was just like, Jake, fucking say something. Like, you spent your whole life talking at the most inappropriate times. This is appropriate. Say something. And neither of us could talk. We were just completely starstruck. Like, there couldn't have been a worse combination of people. So it was just a horrible silence.
It's funny being starstruck when you're like also a performer, and then you assume, like, people will probably assume that you don't get starstruck with people. But I've had that experience a couple of times. Once I still am a bit starstruck by Quan from Regurgitator for some reason. I'm just really intimidated by the guy. Like, I loved the Gurge growing up, like massively loved them. And we were on the same Big Day Out tour in 2007, I think. And I became good mates with Saya, who plays in Regurgitator, right? You probably know Saya.
Yeah.
And she's going to be on Chats in a couple of weeks. But she and I were talking, and I had indulged in, I was a little out of the ordinary state of being, and I
sleep in the garden.
Yeah, I was asleep. And so I was asleep in the garden, and I went to the after party, and Quan was there, and I was like in my exuberant sleeping in the garden state, went up to him and was like, Quan, how are you? I just love your music. And he's like, oh, and I was like really intense. I was like, hey, Quan, I really love your music. Anyway, my wife is Vietnamese, and so at the time we weren't married, but I was like, in love with her and thinking we might have kids and stuff. And I said to Quan, I said, oh, if I have kids with my wife, they might look like you. I was like, what is that? And in my mind, I was like, shut up. This is an inside thought. This is an inside your brain thought. This is not an outside thought. And he just looked at me. He was like, okay. And then I just like creepazoid walked out of there. I was like, what the hell was that? Why would I say that? Anyway, so yeah, I still get some.
Vietnamese? Is that his?
I believe he's half Vietnamese. He's probably not. Maybe he's not. Maybe I was just being like a racist white man. Hey, I just got a question here from Kate Lofting saying, Elana Stone, do you remember Jerry Scott?
Yes, very much so. I mean, you can't. She was my sing teacher at ANU, and she's very well known as being not a tyrant. I wouldn't say a tyrant. Very old school. She was a big band singer in the 50s. She was the first woman to go behind the Iron Curtain and sing at the launch of Sputnik. Wow. So she had like all these incredible dresses, like all ostrich feather dresses in all different colors. She was signed to the BBC, massive deal. And then she ended up in Tokyo booking like Miles Davis, all these incredible acts. And then she ended up somehow in Canberra teaching at the ANU, and she was kind of quite intense. She had this, because she'd smoked her whole life and drank whiskey her whole life, and she'd lived pretty rough. Her voice was quite damaged. She couldn't really play the piano, so she had an accompanist. And she would just tear shreds off the students. Like, she would say things like, don't drink water, darling, fish fucking it. And she wouldn't let you drink water in the lessons. she had 3 ex-husbands, and they were all her piano play, like all her accompanists. She married a guy called Tony Diamond and changed her name to Diana so that she could be Diana Diamond. Like
Wow.
she was a force. She
sounds like somebody should make a documentary about her. She sounds incredible.
Well, I think she wrote an autobiography, and every time I came over, she was kind of writing it and wanting her students to read it. But I don't know if it ever was finished. It was called Girl Singer or something like that, and it would have sold like hotcakes right about now. But I think at the time she was writing it, maybe it wasn't as much of a hot topic.
Let's get hold of it. This is another one of these times to make something. Let's get hold of it. Let's buy the film rights to it and get somebody to make a film out of it. And you can star as her.
As Jerry Scott.
Or maybe your sister can, because she's an actress. And you could.
I had the role, and then you just gave it to my sister.
Well, I'm the director. I can do whatever I want.
You're not the director. It's my teacher.
Yeah, but it was my idea to buy the film rights.
This is what always happens with you, Josh. We come up with these great ideas together, and then you just be the director, and then you just cast me aside. Well,
hey,
I'll show you.
Let's talk about doing projects together in a when I am not being a tyrant. So recently you came to my studio where I'm sitting, and we recorded 4 songs together. Bloody great songs, Lani. Great tracks. I mean, I'm enthusiastic about them. And we produced them up here and recorded it all here. And then Tony Buchan over in LA has been mixing 1 or 2 of them, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, he's mixed 2 of them. Yeah.
And so this was all in aid of getting music out before you went on a huge European tour with John Butler, right? Which is so you play in John Butler's band and have toured extensively with him, which is one of your many, sort of income streams, jobs, whatever. Obviously, all our exes live in Texas as well. This was going to be your sort of latest incarnation of your solo stuff, and it's fucking great. Awesome music. You get this amazing opportunity with John, and then COVID-19 hits. What do you do? What have you just kind of rolled it back and are going to refocus to relaunch when he tours again, or are you going to take this opportunity to release the music now and let people get to know it really well, or what's going on?
I'm trying to figure that out, I think, because so I would have been leaving in like pretty much now to go on the tour. Was like 2 months, I think, in Europe. And it was opening for him solo. So I was kind of getting all of my chops to, that's a terrible word, but I was trying to work out how to play all those songs, which are quite like produced. Obviously you helped produce them. Trying to get all of that down to one person, which was quite a stressful but fun challenge. And then, get all the merch together, because he has some very devoted fans. And, it was one of those tours that really was going to make sense because, very scaled right down, just 2 people performing solo. All the accommodation was booked, all the blah, blah, blah. And then, COVID-19 hit, and it hit Italy, obviously, really hard. And our first shows were in Italy in like the hotspot. So that got cancelled, actually only officially cancelled not that long ago, a couple of days ago, but it was, the word was out that it wasn't going to happen. But amazingly, they've managed to reschedule to next April.
Right.
So that is awesome. So it's still happening. It's all kind of in the works. But having to wait a year to put out this music, I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to take my time with it, because I want to it'd be great to have a whole album ready with videos, with, all the content. Like that's what you always dream of, but it never goes that way. You kind of like end up rushing at the last minute to put some stuff together. So I guess it's given me an opportunity to think about how I'm going to do it. I don't know. It's really like, I think I've gotten into a really nice kind of, it's put everything into perspective, this pandemic. And I've gone back to just like playing music a lot, playing songs, learning the guitar, going back into like that hibernation stage where you just get really creative. And the Instagram live shows every Thursday 9 p.m. on my Instagram are kind of like keeping me answerable to the public, so that I have to have something prepared every week. But I don't know. I've got friends like putting music out now. Katie Whiten, who goes under the name of Kit, she started to put out. She's another member of X's. She started to put out some really great music. She did a concert in her living room, and it was great. Like, it sounded great. It had the feel of a concert. I may not have been able to go because it was in Melbourne, so I got to kind of attend.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you get like a front row seat. Like, I sometimes hate going to live gigs because I'm so short and there's always some asshole standing in front of me. And I don't know, I'm also like a bit older and I feel like I just want to sit down sometimes. And yeah, it was lovely. Like, I actually felt like I was out at a gig. And then when they ended the stream and everything shut off, me and my boyfriend Joel just looked at each other and we were just like a couple of middle-aged people in their pajamas eating chips and drinking wine on the couch. And it was like not even 10 p.m.
That is great. But I must say, like, the Katie Noonan's been saying this a lot, and I've spoken about this before. The only problem with putting on amazing concerts and stuff in your home is that the fear for me is that punters at home get really used to enjoying amazing live concert experiences for free from their homes on these free platforms. And I mean, there's no replacement for actual live shows, but I hope that people don't sort of expect artists to kind of keep pushing this stuff out and out and out for free all the time, because that kind of goes back to the days of piracy when people were like, well, artists don't get paid for releasing records anyway, so why would we pay for this? And, you know, they're getting to do what they love to do, so that should be enough. And that's like, loving what you do is great, but it definitely doesn't pay your bills. You know what I'm saying?
No, and I don't know what the answer is. I think Katie Noonan's right. I think maybe because the problem is that we are going to do it. Like, we are going to do it.
We do it anyway. I'm
going to do it anyway. It's just that I can't do it if I can't eat, and I can't do it if I can't make records. And records and touring cost so much money. And hiring the people that you want to work with costs money. So yeah, we need to work out a way to make ourselves more valued.
I think it's. Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to also mention what Eddie Perfect put up, which I don't know if you saw, but it was this beautifully written thing on Facebook. And it was when it was in question as to whether creatives and sole traders were going to be given the stimulus, the JobKeeper thing. And he just said that he finds it really interesting that when there's like a crisis moment like the bushfires, artists are the first ones to come out and offer fundraising concerts and donate time and energy to these causes. And then as soon as like we're the first people to suffer, like with the pandemic, because of the social distancing rules, we had to shut down all of the tours were like instantly cancelled. And it didn't feel like the public response or the government response was as vivid as artists tend to be.
We lobbied hard for that, and we did get them to listen. Like through the work that I do with PPCA and APRA and everything, you know, I know that the music industry behind the scenes was sitting down with Paul Fletcher and saying, you know, this is what we contribute to the Australian economy every year, and this is why you need to do this. And you know, PPCA was instrumental in getting another 27 million for the music industry. So I think the government is starting to pay more attention. For me, it's I think for me, like I'm obviously, you know, advocate for artists being paid. There's still the public, probably not on this forum where people are tuning into this who obviously love music, but definitely like the average sort of Aussie person out there that doesn't necessarily love live music and doesn't really pay a huge amount of attention to arts and culture, they still do. There is still a perception. It's like, well, you love what you do, so why are you whinging about, you know, wanting more, and why do you always want more? And even when I was on Q&A, I foolishly looked at the comments on Twitter after I'd mentioned something about, you know, loss of income, And somebody commented, "Oh, well, you don't bloody pay taxes. So as soon as you pay taxes, you can bloody get a handout or something like this." It's like, not pay taxes. Of course we fucking pay taxes. We're just like, we're like, I'm an employee of my own company. I pay a lot of tax. Like, we all pay tax. We pay tax. We also don't like go on the dole and stuff. Like, there's this stupid idea that artists are on the dole out there. That's just not, no artist that I know is on the dole. We're all like making art and making a living because we're small business owners and we run businesses in a like lean and agile, cool way. And that's how we make a living. You know what I mean? Like, we're not like, there's still that misconception out in the broader public, again, not this forum, that artists are these eccentric loonies that are just like skating by the skin of their teeth and taking handouts and creating art because they love it. And one thing is true, artists will create art no matter what circumstances or what sort of difficulties they're facing, because we're compelled to do it. But that doesn't mean that we don't need help when it's a fucking pandemic and everybody else needs help as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a few kind of bit of misinformation. Now I'm just seeing these questions coming in. There's some good questions. Isn't it in Ireland that artists don't pay income tax? Magnanimous.
I think there used to be a clause, and a lot of really famous musicians actually moved to Ireland because of that. There was some kind of loophole for artists to be able to live there tax-free.
As far as I know, that was before the days of U2. Because I don't
think that exists anymore, but I did hear about it when I was there, and I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. I just imagined all these people I loved living in palaces over there. But yeah, I mean, tax, it's just like, everyone has to pay it. You
can't escape it. It's death and taxes.
That's it. And
here's another question.
Yeah.
So somebody, Sarah Pond says, where did it go? A lot, something about YouTube. The question's disappeared now, but it said, I know you get paid from streaming, but do you get paid for putting stuff on YouTube? So it's similar. My understanding of it is that it's if you put songs up on YouTube, YouTube has like automatic identifying algorithms that pick up your song, and they pay a tiny, minuscule amount to the owners of that copyright. So if you're through a label, they pay the label, and then the label pays the artist the percentage that is in their contract. But I know this through PPCA and APRA and everything, we've been lobbying for years to try and get YouTube to pay what is considered a commercial rate for the content that they stream. And then the other way you can earn income on YouTube is to have ads before and after the content that you have. Like, so for instance, this video is going up on YouTube and will stay hosted on YouTube. But in order to generate income from ads, you have to have over 4,000 subscribers, which is actually quite a lot. I've only got like 1,400 or something like that. I've never focused on YouTube. So hey, everybody, get on there and subscribe. Tell your mates. Chats with mates.
We can get some ads happening.
I'm going to make you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make my own ads, put them on my Instagram channel, advertising myself. I'll see you later, Elana. Bye-bye.
I'm leaving. I'm just turning my phone off because I'm hearing like these little messages come in. Like studio rule 101, do not leave your phone on.
Rubicon NZ says Neil Finn lives in NZ for less tax, bro. That is true. So New Zealand has always had a very progressive government for artists. There used to be a system in New Zealand where it was like what we have here, like work for the dole, but you had to prove that you were a practicing musician, and you could collect. It was almost like a universal basic income, you know, that idea. But you had to prove that you were a practicing musician. So yeah, there's governments that do it.
Practicing means just not very good. You're like, I'm
practicing all the time. Yeah.
I swear every week I'm getting better at my C major scale.
Except it's in New Zealand, so it'll be like this. I'm practicing my skills, bro. I promise I'm practicing. Mr. Government,
My depression makes it really intense. I just can't get it out. Oh, that was shit. Oh,
sounded a bit more South African, but it was
yeah,
still
we went South African quite quickly.
it was good. It was still an attempt at an accent. But anyway, back to you. So you're gonna. Can I give you my 20 cents worth, which I'm going to, whether it's
I
here or
love
later on.
that. Yeah, as if I could stop you.
I know. So I reckon you should produce all the tracks up and release them sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't worry so much about film clips and shit like that, because I don't reckon people really watch film clips that much.
Mm-hmm.
Those songs are brilliant. I reckon you should just get, like, that really stripped back song that we did. What was that one called?
My Intentions, that one?
No, that's a great song as well. No, the one where you and me and Luke were sitting around here and just singing it live with the banjo and the...
Oh, Bring Down Those Walls.
Yeah, like Bring Down Those Walls. That could just be a live clip filmed on one camera. It doesn't really matter anymore. I don't think, that kind of stuff. But those songs are brilliant. I reckon the sooner you get them out, the better, because then when you go over to... And then you could do your Australian tour first, and then when you go over to Europe with JB, there'll be more of an opportunity for people to have already learned, know those songs, more familiarity.
Yeah.
I reckon that's
you're right. I think I get you're very motivated, and I love that about you. And I get very like in my head about stuff, especially if I'm at home kind of in the little cozy zone. And I love having people, like with all our exes, it's a real team effort, and everyone's checking in and they're like, what have you done? Like, have you done the website? Have you got the merch or anything like that stuff? And for me, I'm a bit like, I'll think about all the possible negatives, and then I'll just be like, I don't know. I really have to self-motivate every day, and that is tough. Okay, everyone, it's tough.
I think that's a really valid point, though. Like, particularly as solo artists, I'm lucky. I have a team. Like, I have a label and I have management. I believe you do not have management at this point.
Not as me, no. I mean, X has had like a great team, but as me personally, no, I don't.
And that's hard, because it's like, you are known. You're a well-known artist. You have a profile. The output that you're not an emerging artist. You're established. You've got a sound. You've got a brand and everything. And it's hard in order to meet the expectations that you and other people would have of your brand. It takes a hell of a lot of work. Like, the songs have to be great, which they are. The production has to be great, which it is. And then but then there's so many moving parts, and there's all the promo and the publicity, getting merch done, booking the tours. There's a hell of a lot of stuff to do. And it is worth mentioning that it's not like behind the scenes, so much goes into it that people wouldn't kind of realize. And when you're doing it by yourself, it's hard. Even me with a team around me, I find it incredibly daunting sometimes. And I'm releasing music now as well, like literally at this moment in time. And it's always daunting. It's always, every time you do it, it's like starting again. And people think that's crazy, because they're like, people know your name and know your music. But honestly, it just feels like every single time it's like starting again.
And it's almost like you feel a bit like you've got further to fall, because those expectations, mostly you put them on yourself. But yeah, you don't want to put something out that hasn't gone as well as something before, or that you don't feel as proud of. Like,
feel as proud of.
I don't necessarily expect my solo stuff to kind of launch me as the next. I can't even know. Like, I would love to put a consistently high level of music out in the world, so that at whatever time, I look back on that stuff, that I don't feel like I did anything too schleppy. Like, that's my base minimum. And I think, I think that's acceptable. I think my like hero, the icon that I would totally live up to, and so many folky female artists would probably say this, but I think, Gillian Welsh, who's had this really sustained career, and I mean, she actually kind of launched later in life with like the Oh Brother stuff, kind of really launched her internationally. But the fact that she can still tour, and she's in her 60s, and she just sounds incredible, and she's a real musician. Like, she's playing beautiful songs that she writes, and I don't know, she's the sort of person I want to emulate. But I know how hard you have to work to be that person. And it almost means you can't have a lot of other things in your life. Like you have to be very focused to achieve that level of success and that level of authenticity.
Yeah, the authenticity thing is huge. I think it's like for artists that, like, I would say us, in the sense that we're not trying to be pop stars. It's all about authenticity, and the more authenticity there is in your music, the more people connect with it, and that's how you have longevity. And Paul Kelly's always a great example of that in terms of longevity, you know. And I think I totally agree that it's like my goal, similar to yours, is just to be able to still be doing this at a pretty high level when I'm 60, you know, like to be able to still go out touring. Because the reality is I didn't get into be a musician. I didn't get into music to like be a flash in the pan, you know, like I love, it's all I want to do. I'm compelled to do it. I've always done it since I was 12.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is be able to do this and maintain, you know, this creative life. So yeah, I think it's important to realize that if longevity is your game, then your end game, then it's definitely about quality of output and consistency of output. And it's funny, like consistency is a really unsexy word in terms of like creativity and like, you know, hip new acts and stuff. Oh, they're totally consistent, man. They're so great. Like you don't really hear that often, but actually what you want is to be consistent. And it's yeah, I think it's like, you wouldn't want to go into a record label, you know, with a demo and be like, yeah, guys, I really want to be really consistent. That's not what they want. That's what artists want. I just want to look at this question. It's not very rock and roll. I just want to look at this question. I'm wondering if the arts will start to be valued in a way that is a lot more robust economically and culturally, given the perspective, reflection, and absence of live performance we're experiencing right now. I would love to believe that, Kate Lofting. I actually had similar conversations with people during that Q&A episode with the Deloitte economist, and you know, really discouragingly, she was saying that like history has shown that like you go through these periods of like, whether it's war or the Depression or whatever, these terrible sort of economic times, and everybody has these experiences of like, wow, we got to do better next time. And then like literally it's some statistic, it's like within 6 months of the thing being over, everyone just goes back to exactly what they were doing before and all the lessons. It's like climate change. This is a perfect opportunity to really address climate change and see the value, like see the benefits of taking cars off the road and stuff like that. Like you can literally see it with the satellite photos and pollution gone. And, you know, there's millions and trillions of liters of oil in surplus and all this. Unfortunately, I'd be willing to bet that when this all ends, everyone's going to be jumping in their cars and the pollution will kick back in, and ScoMo will be like, you know, definitely not thinking about climate change, because we'll be thinking about trying to get Australia out of the economic, you know, pit that we'll be in after all this shit. So yeah. Hey, now I want to ask you to play a song though, because we're running out of, we'll keep this at an hour. So I would like you to play, I'm going to request a song of you, and I would like you to play one of your new ones that we recorded right here in my studio. And I would like you to play a song which seems particularly fitting in the state that we're in, which is called Permanent Limbo. Can you do that for us? Elana Stone.
I can. I happen to have my keyboard right here.
What? I thought that was just a coffee table.
I was thinking then when we're talking, anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, this song is about, it's basically about long distance relationships that are linked together through technology. Mainly because I had a 4-year relationship where I was touring and I barely ever saw the person that this song is about. But and he was also living in Melbourne. I was living in Sydney. There's a lot of stupid things. But now it feels like technology is the only thing keeping us together. And it's kind of still a little strange. But actually, I feel like there's an adjustment period now. I feel almost like it's way better than nothing. It's I know I get to see my my mom every day. It's pretty nice. Yeah. So this is called Permanent Limbo.
Now, this is the only song that I know with the the words Albury Wodonga in it as well.
That's true. And we are in the recording. We actually put some old school dial-up internet beep bops over this song. So listen out for them. They won't be in there. What did you think would happen? 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Living love and lives together. That's what it's really all about. We could have made it, honey. We could have really stepped right out. If you met me halfway, baby. If I wasn't married to the sound. You have to imagine all the production. Remember Sunday morning, before it all got hard, doing crosswords in the cafe, making plans for our lives that stretch right out. You moved back to Melbourne, packed up the car and we drove down.
We were done halfway.
Slept in the park there on the ground. We could have made it, honey. We could have really stepped right out. If you met me halfway, baby. If I wasn't married to the sound. Now we're in permanent limbo. Now we're a soundbite on a cloud. I can't see your photo. Can't even call your name out loud. Call your name out loud. Call your name out loud. What did you think would happen? Living so far apart, making love on a digital platform, making plans for our lives that never start. We could have made it, honey. We could have really stepped right out. If you met me halfway, baby. If I wasn't married to the sound. Here comes the chorus. Now we're in permanent limbo. Now we're a soundbite on a cloud. I can't see your photo. Can't even call your name out loud. Call your name out loud. Call your name out loud. What did you think would happen? Oh, living so far apart. I've already done this bit. Making love on a digital platform. Making plans for our lives that never start. Okay, I've just got a little piano extrapolation to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. What if I can jam?
Before, Josh, just play an A. This is supposed to be a little bit Daft Punk, this bit.
Oh, yeah.
Call your name out loud. 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 Call your
You.
Look, a few things went a bit weird, but yes, we just roll with the punches.
It's all about the recovery. I'm telling you. That's like I did one of these live what is this? A vodcast? I don't know. This a
Did you just
modcast?
call it a podcast?
No, vodcast is an
I've
old
never heard that.
establishment. Anyway, give it up for Elana Stone. Send your claps through on the messages. I can see them, Elana. There are many, many, many. I can't show you, but anyway, there's lots. But yeah, I did one of these live streams the other night, and I screwed up a song, and like I just had to stop because I couldn't remember the words. And like when you're playing live in front of an audience, you can sort of laugh along with the audience. And it's really weird when you're just playing by yourself in the studio, and then you do it, and I had to talk. I basically had to talk myself around to the fact that I'd screwed up.
Okay.
And, yeah, no, this is okay. Yeah, fine, mate. Yeah, no, look, it's just a mistake. Everybody makes them. That's fine. Now we should wrap up because it's almost time to go to bed.
Well, you're going to close it out with the song, surely. I mean, I have
Yes.
requested the song also.
You have requested a song, and it's actually got a bit of a backstory. So you requested.
I requested Middle of the Hill because it's my favorite Josh Pyke song, and I felt a bit bad because I know it's one of the hits, and I didn't want to I wanted to pick a more obscure song so that you knew I was invested in your back catalogue.
Yeah, but you don't like any of my other songs. That's fine.
I do, but this was the first song I heard of yours, and I remember it really, your sound really struck me because firstly there was no one else on the radio who was singing that many words in a short space of time. It struck me the vocal harmonies, which I love vocal harmonies, and just the mood that you created, which was very much reminiscent of it's reminiscent of where I grew up, or anyone's childhood really. It kind of feels like that weird stream of consciousness of memories, and they're sort of convoluted, and it's just a beautiful representation of almost like the child mind, and then looking back on that as an adult. And honestly, when I heard it, I was really struck by how unique that songwriting was. I think I saw you at the Hopetoun. I feel like you were launching that EP or that album.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. That was during the tri-state residency. I was doing this crazy thing where for a month, every week I played in 3 states. So I played Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, or Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide for 4 weeks in a row. And the first shows that I played, there was like 13 people there. And by the end of that month, Middle of the Hill had gone nuts on Triple J, and all the shows were sold out. And I didn't know how to perform really at that point as a solo artist. Like I remember playing that Hopetoun show and people wanted an encore, and I remember getting off and being like, I literally don't have any other song. I haven't had enough experience as a solo artist to have any more songs to play. So yeah, I'm glad you were there. That's great. Thank you.
Well,
thank you so much.
When you go off stage, you can't actually disappear. You're just standing in the audience. People can see you, so you're just like, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to have to do that weird escalator.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll play that, and I want to say. So we were talking about this just before we started the vodcast, but so my sister told me this story, and I don't know if it's true. You don't remember it, but my sister reckons that so this song is written about a house that we lived in when I was a kid in Balmain, a street called Rumsey Street. My sister reckons that you and Yal's your younger sister, right?
Yeah.
So she reckons, my sister reckons that you and Jake were being babysat by my mum for some reason. I didn't even know our parents were friends. I mean, they would have known each other, but she reckons you and Jake were being babysat at our house when Yal was being born or something. Do you know if that's true?
I love
can you call your mum?
This already is by you saying my sister reckons.
My sister reckons that you called me a dickhead in the playground. My sister reckons that's true.
And I'm going to beat living daylights out of you
I'll meet you out in Gladstone Park. By the palm tree.
3:05.
Can you call your mum and ask her?
Yeah, I'm seeing her tomorrow. Well, in a very safe distance.
No, can you call her now? Can you call her now and ask her?
No, she's way in bed. She's like 73. There's no way I'm calling her now.
Well, you get back to me, all right? Because I want to know if this is true. Okay, here we go. This one's for you, Lani.
I'm with ya.
When I was a kid, I grew up in a house on a hill, not the top, not the bottom, but the middle. And I still remember where I cracked my head in the vacant lot. There's a row of tiny houses there now, and we used to light fires in the gutters, and I could cool my head on the concrete steps. But the girl down the street hit my sister on the head with a stick, and we hid behind my father as he knocked on the parents' door to tell him what she did. But the parents were drunk, so they really didn't give a shit. It's true. Then the girl down the street said a dog couldn't bark 'cause a man with an axe cut its voice box out. My older sister reckoned that it really wasn't true, 'cause she took me by the hand one time when a couple men drove down the hill in a white van. Said there was a phone box filled with money round the corner, and I would have gone along, but she took me by the hand to the house in the middle of the hill, the middle of the hill, the middle of the hill. And our mother knew the words to a lot of different songs, and we'd always sing the harmonies when we'd sing along. She had cool, cool hands when the fever hit. Then the noises that the trains made sounded like people in my head, and the stories that the ceiling told through the pictures in the grains on the pine wood boards. And I could stay outside till the sky went red, and I could cool my head on the concrete steps. You could never really see the top from the bottom. I don't pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. You never really see the top from the bottom. I don't pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. And pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. I don't pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. And pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. I don't pay enough attention to the good things when I got them. No. Oh, oh.
Yes. I love that little turning around bit at the end. It's like just the exact right amount of music nerd for me. Hey, can we just do one more thing? Wait, before.
Yeah.
Can you try and put your face? Can you make half a face? It's really hard to do because it's like backwards. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
oh.
Hang on, I got to make my head smaller. You stay where you are.
Okay, I'll stay here.
I can't. It's all backwards.
If we were one person, that's what we would look like.
There we go.
That's what our kid would look like.
Beautiful kid. Hey, so before I let you go, we did some acoustic sessions for my latest release.
Yes, that was really fun.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know that it's out.
Is it? Yeah, I was wondering. I didn't get the memo.
Yeah,
but how do I watch it? How can I watch it?
No, the videos aren't out. The videos are out soon, and you'll definitely know about that. But the song, we did a cover of Endless Summer that we did on Triple J's Like a Version years ago.
Yeah.
And it is available. So Doubting Thomas, which is the latest single of mine, it's like the B-side or the waterfall track or whatever that they call it in streaming worlds now. So it's out there on streaming. You guys should check it out. Me and Elana doing a cover of the beautiful Jezebel song Endless Summer, but we also did acoustic versions of my song The Summer, Memories and Dust, and
Doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
And also the Doobie Brothers song. Did that make it?
We did. No, that was more for fun. I think that's still on my Instagram TV though. You should check that out. We did it, but we realized that both of our favorite songs is the song What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers.
I should have just played that.
It came from somewhere back in a long ago.
Oh, it's impossible with the delay.
The delay just doesn't. It's a shame.
was like a reggae version. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so check it out because they're great acoustic versions. We did these great versions where Elana was on the piano or the accordion and I was on guitar. So check them out. That's to come. So thank you very much for joining me on Chats with Mates. Oh, I've been asking people to make a theme song for Chats with Mates. Can you make a quick theme song real quick?
Oh, I thought we did at the beginning. It was like Chats with Mates, Chats with Mates. They're really great. Our Chats with Mates. If you don't like them, leave it on your plate. Don't come. Good. Don't enter YouTube. We're fine without you.
Let's hear it. You're like that Muppets. I'll never get it. Never. Can you just make a song? Go on the piano.
Oh,
now.
That was it. Chats with Mates. You know it's been a really good time. I'm never gonna forget this. I'm probably gonna check that it was okay. Hopefully not as soon as I get off talking to you, because otherwise I'll disappear up my own ass. Chats with Mates.
I mean, that's definitely the best one we've had.
Oh, have you had more than one?
Yeah, Bob Evans did one. His was really good as well. Not as good as that though. I'm gonna be honest.
Sorry, Bob.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me and the Chats with Mates gang out there. There's people going to have tattoos of Chats with Mates. I should get some t-shirts made. You get some bloody t-shirts made. Let's have a chat offline sometime soon.
Okay.
And yeah, all the best with all your releases. Like I say, I think you should get it out there sooner than later because they're bloody great songs, really amazing songs.
Thanks for being a lovely supporter and friend. You're real. People don't know about you, Pikey, but you're a solid guy.
Yeah, woo! I know people think of me as a schoolyard bully. Apparently, I tried to set your brother on fire at the canteen line. He's told me that.
Fair, you are a schoolyard bully as well as being a very supportive, sensitive, and kind man.
Perfect man.
Go figure. Man.
All right. Love you. See you soon.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know how to turn this off.